Hey guys, Alex here with Serious Goose Games. Welcome back to our Unity Tactics RPG tutorial. In the last episode, we made it so our character could move around on the map. Today we're going to implement movement range. This is going to limit how far a character can move. We're also going to use Dijkstra's algorithm to highlight the tiles we can move to. So the first thing we want to do is go into our unit script. And we need to add its movement range. So up with the rest of our variables, we're going to create a public int called movement range. By default, we'll set this to be 3. Once you've got that, let's head over to our grid manager script. And we need to create a few helper functions before we get into the meat of this video. And the first one is get tile neighbors. So we need to be able to look at a tile and say, hey, give us your neighbors. What tiles are around you? So we're going to create a private list of type tile. And this is going to be get tile neighbors. And we're going to pass in a vector2 int called tile position. And inside here, we're going to start by creating a list of tiles, a list tile called neighbors. And this is going to be equal to a new list of type tile. Now we're going to do a quick nested for loop. So for int x is equal to -1, as long as x is less than or equal to 1, x plus plus. And then we're going to do another one for the y-axis. So for int y equals -1, as long as y is less than or equal to 1, y plus plus. So what we're doing here is we're essentially creating 3x3 grids centered around our initial tile position. So inside here, we're going to create an int called POSX or position x. This is going to be equal to tile position.x plus x. And we're going to do the same thing for y. So int POSY is equal to tile position.y plus y. Now we're going to make this more efficient later, or at least easier to read. But for now, we're going to do an if statement with a whole lot of conditions. If POSX is greater than or equal to 0, and POSY is greater than or equal to 0, meaning that neither of those are negative, we're on our grid. We also want to check that our position x is less than width, and our position y is less than height. So this is kind of our bounds checking, making sure that whatever tile we're looking for actually exists on our grid. We're not checking for something that's bigger than our maximum or smaller than our minimum. The other thing we want to check is if our position that we're checking, so new vector2 int POSX and POSY, as long as those aren't equal to the tile position we're passing in, we're good. We don't want to add the tile we're checking to our neighbors. So if all of those conditions are true, we're going to do neighbors.add map POSX, POSY. I just realized because of how long this is, it was probably a little difficult to see, so I'll move over so you can see the whole thing. So these two conditions here, position X and position Y both being greater than 0, means that our tile is bigger than our minimum. And the next two conditions are checking to make sure that it is smaller than our maximum, so it's within the range of our map. And then this last condition is just checking to make sure that it's not the tile we're actively checking. It's not the tile in question. Because we only want to get the neighbors of the tile, not the tile itself. Because if we have that tile, we don't need to add it to this list. And then at the very bottom, we're going to return neighbors. Now you might notice that it is currently yelling at me anytime I'm trying to use the list. And that's because we need a specific namespace in order to use that. So at the very top, underneath where we have Unity Engine, we're going to add the namespace using system.collections.generic, and that's going to give us access to lists and the various little bits and pieces that come with them. That's important. We're going to need to use quite a few lists in this script. Now, depending on your IDE or whatever software you're using to code, it might automatically put in namespaces for you. In this case, it did not. So just make sure you've got that set and good to go. Next, we're going to add another helper function. This one is going to be a private bool called isDiagonal. And we're going to pass in tile A and tile B. And in order to determine if a tile is diagonal, we need to look at its coordinates and figure out if it's, if it's diagonal. So if we've got a tile at origin 0, 0, we want to check to see if the coordinates of the tile B is 1, 1, 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, or negative 1, 1. So to do that, we're going to create an int called dx. This is going to be diagonal x, and this is going to be equal to mathf.abs, or absolute value. And we're going to pass in a.gridPosition.x. And because we're looking specifically for 1, we're going to subtract b.gridPosition.x. So what this will do is it's going to subtract the coordinates and return the absolute value. So we don't need to do any negative checking, because if it's diagonal, it's going to be 1. So now int dy, diagonal y, same idea, except it's going to be gridPosition.y instead of gridPosition.x. And we're going to return dx equals 1 and dy equals 1. So if both x and y are 1, it's diagonal. And if you're struggling to figure out how that works, get a piece of graph paper and plot out some different points and plug in the coordinates of those points into this little equation, and you'll see that every time the diagonal tiles are going to be 1, 1. So if you are a person that benefits from trying things out yourself, do it. Get a piece of graph paper. So the next thing we're going to do is hop on over to tile, and we're going to add another value. And this is going to be a public bool called inMoveRange. And that's going to be false by default. So let's hop back over to Grid Manager. We're going to add another function. This one is going to be a private void called reset grid highlights. And all we're going to do in here is just loop through our entire map. So for each tile in map, and then inside here, we're going to check if our tile is selected. So if tile.selected tile is not equal to tile, then we want to do tile.inMoveRange equals false. And now we're going to do tile.changeColor, and we're going to change this color back to tile.originalColor. Now it's yelling at me right now because selected tile is not accessible how it is. So if we go over to our tile script, right here, it's a private static tile selected tile. We want to change that to public to make it accessible to other scripts. So with all of that done, it's time to get the big function out of the way. So there's a lot of steps here. If you did any looking into pathfinding or Dijkstra's algorithm at all, you should have an idea of kind of the steps we're going to take. So we're going to create a public list of tiles called get highlight range. And we need to pass in a vector to int called start. And we're going to pass in an int called range. So the algorithm we're using is Dijkstra's algorithm, and it's a really cool algorithm that allows us to use weights. At the moment, there isn't really going to be a lot of weight. The only weight we have today is just if a tile is diagonal. If you didn't have weights, if every tile had a move cost of 1, you would actually be doing breadth first search, which is another really cool pathfinding algorithm. So the first thing we're going to do is reset grid highlights. We're going to call that right off the bat to reset any highlights we currently have. Now we're going to grab a list of type tile, We're going to call this reachable. And this is going to be equal to a new list of tiles. Next, we're going to create a dictionary with a key of tile and a value of int. And this is going to be called cost so far. We'll set that to be equal to a new dictionary with tile and int. Now, normally, you could use a priority queue, which is how Dijkstra's algorithm usually goes, because it's efficient. It allows you to sort things based on kind of the cost. And what Dijkstra's will do is go through and check the smallest value and pick that one first. Because as far as I'm aware, Unity doesn't support priority queues. We're going to use a dictionary instead. The next thing we need is a queue of tiles. This is going to be called edge. This is going to be equal to a new queue of tiles. And that's just going to be all the tiles around the outside that we need to check. Next, we're going to create a tile reference called start tile. And that's going to be equal to map start.x and start.y. Then we're going to grab our edge and enqueue our start tile into it. And then we're going to set our cost so far for our start tile to be 0 because it's not going to cost anything to move to our start. Once all of that's done, we're going to use a while loop to loop through our edge queue until our edge queue is completely empty. So while edge.count is greater than 0, we're going to create a tile reference called current. So the current tile we're looking at, and that's going to be equal to edge.dq. And then we're going to grab int current cost is equal to cost so far. We're going to pass in our current tile as the key. Now we're going to run a for each loop, and we're going to do for each tile neighbor in get tile neighbors. We're going to pass in a current.grid position. Inside here, we're going to create an int called step cost. And this is going to be equal to is diagonal. So we're using a ternary here. We're going to pass in current and neighbor, and then question mark. If our neighbor is diagonal, we're going to set its step cost to 2. If it's not, its cost is going to be 1. Now, if you wanted to be more accurate, you could scale everything up by a factor of 10 and do 14 and 10, or you could change the cost to be floats, in which case you'd have a whole other mess of issues to deal with. But you could have 1.4 and 1, but 2 to 1, perfectly fine ratio for what we're doing. Doesn't need to be that accurate. Now we're going to do int new cost is equal to current cost plus step cost. And now we have an if statement with some lengthy conditions. So if our new cost is less than or equal to range, and we're going to put this part in parentheses because we want to check these together. If our cost so far doesn't contain the key neighbor, so not our exclamation point, cost so far dot contains key neighbor, or our new cost is less than cost so far neighbor, then we want to process the tile. If these conditions aren't met, we don't want to process the tile. So this first condition, we're checking to see if the new cost is less than or equal to our range. So is this tile within our movement range? We also want to check, does neighbor exist in our dictionary already? Or if it does exist, we want to check to see if its new cost is less than the cost we had previously for it. And what that'll do is it's going to update the cost for our neighbor. So inside here, we're going to set cost so far. The key is going to be neighbor is going to be equal to new cost. Then we're going to do edge.enqueue neighbor. And then if reachable doesn't contain our neighbor and neighbor is not equal to start tile, then we want to add our neighbor to our list. So reachable.add neighbor. And neighbor.inMoveRange is equal to true. And then at the very end, we're going to return reachable. So once we get this list of tiles that we can now reach, we want to highlight them. So underneath this function, we're going to create a new one called public void highlight move range. We're going to pass in a tile called start and an int for range. And inside here, we're going to create a list of tiles called reachable tiles. And this is going to be equal to get highlight range. We're going to pass in our start.grid position and our range. And then we're going to for each all of those tiles. So for each tile in reachable tiles, we're going to do tile.change color. And we're going to do color.cyan. So the next thing we want to do is go to our tile script and down in on pointer down, where we find any object by type unit.moveTo. We're actually going to modify this a little bit. Instead of grabbing our unit, we're going to change it to grid manager. Instead of calling moveTo, we're going to call highlight move range. We're going to pass in this tile as the start tile, and then we're going to find any object by type unit. We're going to grab its movement range. Again, this line of code is terrible and going to be replaced anyway, but for testing, it'll work. And the very last thing we need to change is on pointer exit, where we're changing the color. Inside here, we're passing in original color, but we want to check if it's in move range. So inside here, we're going to type in move range, question mark. If it is in move range, we're going to do color.cyan. Otherwise, original color. Love the ternaries. So save all your code, head back to Unity. Once you've done everything, we shouldn't have to modify anything in Unity. We should just be able to hit play and see it work. So once you hit play, go ahead and click on a tile. And you can see now 3 tiles in each direction are highlighted cyan. This is our movement range. So any tile that is currently cyan would take 3 tiles to get to. So if we start here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I mean, obviously the ones adjacent to it don't take that much, but all the ones on the edge take 3 tiles to get to. And because we added that line to our on mouse exit or on pointer exit, we can see that the tile goes back to cyan after we move off of it. It doesn't change to its original color. And if I select a new tile, all of our highlights reset and our movement range changes where it is. So the next logical step is being able to select a unit and have its movement range highlight around it. And then after that, it would be making sure that our unit can only move within that range. That's all for today, though. So if you found this episode helpful, hit like so other devs can find this series, and subscribe so you don't miss an upload. Let me know in the comments, how many units should you be able to deploy in a tactics RPG? I've always preferred being able to send out a small army, but some people like smaller squads. As always, thanks for watching. I'm Alex with Serious Goose Games, and I'll see you in the next one.